Craig Jones is someone likely wholly unfamiliar to my viewers who only tune in for the pro wrestling content, and incredibly familiar to the crowd who show up for the grappling analyses. It's really hard to communicate to people who don't follow grappling how important and popular he really is. So I'm not going to. Instead, Walk is going to do it for me. Go ahead, buddy.
There are certain athletes that come around at least once in a sport that defy all wisdom of athletics. Carlos Pratas, Babe Ruth, John Daly, or Nicolino Loche. They are all almost human middle fingers to the conventional wisdom of what an athlete is. Dedicated diet? John Daly, in the moments of me saying this out loud, has eaten a bag of peanut M&Ms. Athletic? Babe Ruth looks as if Popcorn Lung came with a free beer and was one of the greatest players of his era. Through sheer technique and spite, these athletes managed to defy the odds and become some of the best to ever do it. Craig Jones is one of those athletes. Craig physically looks like a mix of a Four Loko and a long-limbed rat. Craig is the closest analog we have to Hunter S. Thompson in sports. Craig has a list of accolades such as grappling with Gabby Garcia, every man's dream, second place in multiple ADCCs, and has caused Gordon Ryan to write more paragraphs than he has ever read. Craig is so influential, you can blame him for why no-gi grapplers talk about how gay it is to be hugging dudes. Craig basically flipped the perception of jiu-jitsu, of a respectful martial art, about kissing your Helio Gracie photo and practicing the same armbar from the last 3 months to the Instagram reel huffing funny man culture we have now. I ultimately see that as a good thing, because I can't afford a picture of Helio Gracie, but I digress. Craig can't help himself but to slaughter sacred cows. Leg locks are seen as the thief's way of doing jiu-jitsu. He does a nose beer and heel hooks at that very notion. ADCC is one of the most prestigious events in grappling. Craig doesn't care. They don't pay worth a shit, so he makes his own promotion with blackjack and hookers. Craig has always been a showman and always very flamboyant with all of his presentation, while still being the most technically minded jiu-jitsu guy this side of Joseph Chen. His instructionals are both educational and funny. Here is a mild dramatic reading of some of the titles of these both informative and well-spoken instructionals. Reach around guard. Power bottom. Power top. Get off my legs, gringo. Pendejo guard. Edging your way out of danger. Balls to walls. And my personal favorite, false reap allegations. I could seriously talk about Craig all day, but the TLDR of this whole section is, Craig is a showman, Craig is a freak, and Craig is one of the best to ever touch this sport.
Chael Sonnen is a man born to do professional wrestling, forced to be a prize fighter. One of the most popular fighters of all time to never win a world title, he got much farther in the sport than he would have on the merit of his fighting alone by cutting ridiculous promos on his opponents, going past mere fight promotion into the realm of legitimate performance art with his diatribes. He actually did a tryout with the WCW power plant during his highly decorated amateur wrestling career, and unfortunately didn't make the cut. A very strange sliding doors moment that makes one wonder how the history of MMA would be different if he had made it. If you somehow haven't seen him speak, literally just go watch any compilation of his promos on YouTube. It's far more important you see that work than this video. Chael's comedic style is an unholy combination of typical 80s wrestling heel and Norm Macdonald. It's pure joy to watch. Since retiring undefeated, he's gone on to be the #1 source of fake news for the MMA sphere. He regularly makes up engagement bait hot takes and just straight up fabricates stories in order to entertain. And for some reason, it's so funny that we've all just mutually agreed to humor him. He's the bad guy, and he likes to talk shit. All of this brings us to the second Craig Jones Invitational, the yearly grappling event run by the Aussie that seeks to serve as an alternative to ADCC. Craig was originally supposed to face sex pest and former both Olympian and WWE bust Gable Stevenson in an exhibition match, Craig's retirement bout. Stevenson pulled out for the match claiming an injury, however went on to have an MMA fight almost immediately after, with the whole thing clearly being an example of the UFC paying off Gable to try and hurt the card out of spite towards Craig, who declined an offer to join the new UFC BJJ promotion, itself an attempt to turn another combat sport into a sweatshop designed to make Endeavor's value go up. Seeking another opponent at the last second, Craig eventually called upon Uncle Chael to save his bout. The two had previously had an ADCC match, which Craig won very quickly, first attempting a mirror lock before heel hooking the bad guy. It was a very nice gesture from Chael to put over young talent like that, a magnanimous move. Chael released a video on his YouTube channel explaining that he thinks he could make adjustments necessary to beat Craig, and thus we were off to the races. What everyone, including myself, expected from this match was a quick slaughter. Likely Craig would mess around for a bit, and then heel hook Chael and be done with it, cleanly finishing the wrestler without a ton of fanfare. Instead, we got something far more interesting, with what I'll describe here as Carnival catch for the digital age. Sonnen makes his entrance in full cheesy heel mode, calling the audience fat and generally Ric Flairing his way to the pit as the villain that he is. I really do love it, as although Chael has very much turned into a babyface to the MMA crowd due to him getting over it to an absurd degree, he's working a new territory, setting himself up as an invader to be vanquished by the homegrown star. Craig's entrance, in contrast, is a hero's welcome. A video package plays of him doing a line in the bathroom, and he enters through the crowd Shield style, all the while Riff Raff of all people is doing a live performance. It's silly, it's grandiose, and if you've been following Craig's journey long enough, it might even be oddly poignant as the competitor makes his way to battle one last time. The match begins with no real feeling out, as Chael grabs the body lock and pulls Craig to the ground like the former Greco-Roman competitor that he is. Craig effectively pulls side control and immediately attacks a buggy choke. For those unfamiliar, it's a meme submission that allows you to choke your opponent from a pinned position in bottom side control, often only viable for incredibly long and lanky competitors like Senior Jones. Finishing a buggy choke against a high-level opponent would be like beating Jon Moxley with a mandible claw. Chael puts up zero resistance and supposedly passes out to the choke. This is when the audience is cued in that this is a playful work and reacts accordingly, laughing with joy as weird shit unfolds. I find this moment really interesting, because although the match is ostensibly Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby in terms of top-level submission wrestling, the audience watching live are expecting a shoot, not a fun, literal cooperative pantomime. Chael then engages his heel persona once again, explaining that he thought this was a best 2 out of 3 falls match, and that they should restart the match. One of the commentators, whose name escapes me, please comment below if you know who it is, makes a great call, explaining that Chael was assuming this was under catch wrestling rules, which is just a perfect little nerdy reference. They begin again and it's more competitive immediately. Chael shoots a low single on Craig and gets to the body lock once again. Craig looking to give up side control to engage the buggy choke once more. Sonnen does a great little move by grabbing the far side foot, preventing Jones from turning perpendicular and allowing him to get the back. The master of Mexican ground karate plays possum, eventually rolling to face the danger, and teases the turn to the side once again to threaten the buggy. He hilariously just lays down Nick Diaz style before Chael does something atypical, going from the cradle to a leg entry from the back, even threatening a decent looking heel hook. Craig eventually passes guard and gets the top side control himself, before basically allowing the wrestle up, playing possum, and getting the buggy choke once again. Chael gets back up and calls for best 3 out of 5, and fun is had by all as Gabby Garcia embraces her boy wife affectionately. The reason I call this Carnival catch for the digital age is because this is cooperative, 2 men not going all out and instead trying to entertain the crowd. Instead, especially in the second fall, they're basically flow rolling towards a finish called ahead of time, being playful just for the pure fun of it. The reason I think this is significant is because of what it says about products that an audience expecting a shoot might enjoy. BJJ is not a sport that does works, and an audience watching something like the CJI expects legitimate grappling, even if it can be dull, which was a criticism made for Night 1 of CJI 2. What was delivered to them here was the opposite, and yet the crowd accepted it all the same, deriving fun not just from the admittedly brief and sparse grappling here, but instead mostly from the two characters who were competing. Craig is a silly bad boy / wild man babyface who does hookers and blow in Thailand on a regular basis, and Chael is a cartoon villain with a chip on his shoulder. Even if they had done a shoot, we would still be watching for the characters regardless. To me, this evokes the primordial soup of pro wrestling, when Carnival catch competitors began working segments of matches to make the matches more fan-friendly, or even Pancrase with its combination of worked and shoot parts of its fights. These two jackasses have reinvented pro wrestling from first principles, and I deeply admire their willingness to take a risk and do something like that. I don't think this will lead to more worked grappling matches in the future. It's a micro niche within an already niche sport, but honestly, I'd love to see them. At the very least, I need to see Craig at a Bloodsport show, and I will not shut up about this until this happens. Joshua Lawrence Barnett, Craig Benjamin Jones, squared circle now. This is silly, this is fun, this is two charismatic gentlemen weaponizing their charm to deliver something enjoyable. In other words, it's pro wrestling. 3 stars.